أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على رسولنا محمد وعلى آله وأصحابه وأتباعه وسلم. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Inshallah, this will be this year's last key concepts in Quran class. So I will try to squeeze in a little more for today because we need to wrap up and inshallah start with a new topic. Or we can even follow up with the current topic, but still, let's wrap up what we have been discussing so far. So since we don't have anybody new today, I'm not going to go over what we have discussed before. Since the beginning of Surah Al-Baqarah, we discussed the book, we discussed guidance, then we discussed muttaqeen, who is conscious. Then we talked about belief in the unseen, because as it started describing the muttaqeen, the God conscious, it said that there are those that believe in the unseen. And then the other part of this verse we didn't touch, we will come back to this. We will come to that, inshallah, at the end of today's discussion. I would like to wrap this up. And then it further expanded the muttaqeen as saying, يُؤْمِنُونَ بِمَا أُنزِلَ إِلَيْكَ. So those that believe that's revealed to you and those before you, and in this regard, having a conviction in the prophethood and the revelation was affecting the guidance that I would receive. So these were the things that we discussed. The last thing we discussed last week was this question, and I will keep asking that type of questions. Since it says this book is a guidance for those who have conviction in prophethood, who have conviction in or be in expectation of revelation. And we said, how is it that my level of certainty, my level of conviction about prophet going to change how I benefit from the message? My level of conviction that I'm going to receive some sort of revelation would change how much I benefit from the guidance. So this should be a type of question. And now comes to وَبِالْآخِرَةُ هُمْ يُوقِنُونَ. Like this is وَالَّذِينَ يُؤْمِنُونَ بِمَا أُنزِلَ إِلَيْكَ وَمَا أُنزِلَ مِنْ قَبْلِكَ وَبِالْآخِرَةُ هُمْ يُوقِنُونَ. So this is again a description of muttaqeen. But the phrase when it says they have certainty in hereafter, there's an added emphasis when it says, like for example, the phrase is not going as وَالَّذِينَ يُؤْمِنُونَ بِمَا أُنزِلَ إِلَيْكَ وَمَا أُنزِلَ مِنْ قَبْلِكَ وَيُؤْمِنُونَ بِالْآخِرَةِ. Like the phrase didn't go as such, but the phrasing has changed and it says وَبِالْآخِرَةِ هُمْ يُوقِنُونَ. So it is by putting, once the order of words change in Quran, and something that gets out of the way comes before is to add emphasis. So in here, وَبِالْآخِرَةِ, and especially, this is why in translation they would put an especially over there, although there's no word especially. But especially when it comes to afterlife, they are certain. Hum yuqinun. And another thing that we need to pay attention here, just based on the grammar of the sentence here, in all the verbs, yu'minun, yuqinun, these are verbs. Like they do have iman, but iman is being emphasized in here as a verb, as an active verb. Yuqinun, which is certainty, is again as an active verb. So what does it mean to have, like we discussed it before, to have iman as an active verb when it comes to having a conviction in prophet, having a conviction in revelation? Let's not get back to there. But now our topic is going to be having this certainty in hereafter. And this is again an active verb. How can you be actively convinced, actively certain? And the word in here is literally certain. So yaqeen is the word here. How is an act that you can do? Number one. Number two, how could you be sure in the first place about afterlife? Because Nobody who died came back and said, okay, yeah, actually, there's an afterlife. I saw it. I came back. How can you be sure about it? You die. Yeah.
I have a question about the word yaqeen. Is it the same word when Imam Nursi in his writings, he says, like he's talking about a complicated topic like hereafter, and he said, I will give you some examples so that it will become yaqeen to your mind.
I'm not sure about that. I'm
Okay.
not sure about that. Because yeah. Because I don't think in Arabic that word is that word. Yaqeen in here is certainty. Quran talks about different levels of certainty. How could one be certain about hereafter? We talked about this before this new phase of the discussion, as Quran was giving proofs of that. But let's start from scratch. If you have any comments, how could you be certain about hereafter? Any ideas? Yeah, Mukhtar.
I think there are different signs. I'll use the word signs in around us of life being rejuvenated. Like, for example, if you're a farmer, like every single year you go through the cycle of planting your seeds, seeing the rain and the sun grow the seed, and then you harvest, and then the plants die, and then it goes on into that cycle again. Mm-hmm. So you could be thinking that, even if we die, there has to be something beyond ourselves that we're not just gone.
Yeah. Correct. Because there would be questions to ask. Like, there's a question mark. Am I going to, is there a life beyond grave? Because it looks like I'm losing something, or at least I lose a family, a friend, someone is gone, it's lost. And eventually I fear that I will get lost because those that I bury under the soil, from my perspective, they're gone, right? So many questions arise. Are they still alive? Or are they going to be brought back to life? If so, why? How is this going to happen? Is the one capable of doing that? Whomever is going to do it, is that one capable? Is there a reason that this would happen in the first place? Many such questions there are. So, if we were talking about with the kids and saying that if I promise them something, let's say the kid wants a certain brand of toy very much, but and they are discussing among themselves, would our dad buy this toy to us? Desire is there, but why should he buy in the first place? If he's going to buy, does he have enough funds to buy? There are many such questions. Have you ever seen, okay, we will ask from him, but how frequently has he been responsive to our requests? Has he bought anything? Has he bought toys? Many such questions we will ask one after the other. And as an innocent child, you really want this car. And you would like to feel secure and sure that, indeed, I am sure my dad will buy this toy. Right? How can a child be convinced about this? Child can only be convinced about this based on the answers to those questions. Otherwise, if foolishly the child says, well, he better be, or I feel good if I think or fancy that he will buy it. Because if I think he won't buy it, I will feel pain. Therefore, I don't really care whether he buys or not, but I better live a life as if he's going to buy it. Because this hope keeps me within joy. So in this regard, we will be looking for signs. And this was the previous verses that we studied before starting this phase, right? Has he ever resurrected anyone? Has he ever given me anything? Like if I go with the example of the child father, has he bought anything before? Yes, providing me with food and sustenance. So therefore, mercy is definitely there, which is needed for him to buy toy as well. How about wisdom? Like this toy, how necessary is the toy for me? Maybe it's not necessary, it's extravagant. And my father is a wise person. Maybe he's not going to buy that, right? How necessary is the toy for me? If I ask the question, how necessary is afterlife for me? How necessary afterlife for him, for the creator as well? Like, what do you think? Is afterlife necessary? Like, would your creator have an incentive to create afterlife? What do you think? Like in my example, if my father wanted me to become a digger operator one day, then he probably would have an incentive to buy me a digger toy when I'm a small child. Like from my father's perspective of what I should become, or like parents generally don't want their kids to become digger operators, although Ali wants to become an excavator. But computer, like my parents bought me computer at a very early age because my father wanted me to become a computerist. This is how he used to say back in the day. So he has an incentive. Actually, he has his own reasons to buy me that toy computer. What do you think about afterlife? Do you think your creator has an incentive to create afterlife for you? I definitely have a reason, but does he have a reason?
To think in that perspective of like, because like ultimately, if you're the creator, you can do as you wish. But I don't know. I guess to the degree that, yeah, that concept seems odd. Like, is there an incentive for you to create a?
So can you look at it from your perspective? Don't look at it from creator's perspective. Again, I'm not putting myself in my father's shoes.
Yeah.
I am looking at expectation of my father from me. And then when I see that he buys me a computer, I say, actually, this aligns perfectly with what he wants me to do.
I think maybe yes. Well, not maybe. I think yes, because the afterlife could be an incentive for us if he places restrictions on it, like with a parent with their child, they might say, you can get this toy, but you need to clean your room or you need to do your chores, something like that.
Mm-hmm. So, like, if there were no afterlife, what would you think? I promise I give you so much of an enthusiasm. Like, let's read it from my end. I am given so much of an enthusiasm for living forever. I don't like death. I don't like dying. I don't like separation. This is how I am made. And then such a one, as if, like for Ali, if I were to show him candy, just shake it before him, and then throw it out of the window. What would he say? Like,
Heartless.
why? This is how we are made. Like,
Why did you dangle that in front of me if you're just gonna is that cool?
right. I mean, I am made to fall in love with this living, and I am made to hate separation. And this hope, the need, the expectation of afterlife is just hanging before me, and then being thrown out of the window. I would become an enemy of the one who throws it out. which is a total contradiction to why did you make me experience things in the first place? Like I am invited into this guest house so that I appreciate the provider, the sustainer, the beautifier, the merciful. I am a guest in here. As I am observing it, it looks like the maker wants to be loved, wants to be appreciated. This is from my perspective, right? Again, I'm trying to read, why did my father buy this computer to me? Because he wanted me to become a computer engineer. In this life, I am being provided with all these, I don't know, acts of mercy, foods, sustenance, wisdom. It looks like I am being expected to appreciate these. If there's no afterlife, yet there's this desire for eternity, I would become the exact opposite of this incentive of, or the purpose of creation, in a sense. The creation is made so that I'm going to be appreciative. How will I take my revenge? I will become the enemy. Actually, this is why, if you think about it, this is why atheist becomes enemy of God. Why would you be enemy of someone you think doesn't exist? Isn't it? Like an atheist claims that God doesn't exist. Yet they're not chill. Like if you're like if God doesn't exist, be chill, man. Like why are you trying to take people out of, like if somebody believes in God, you're trying to just go and attack them, attacking religion and whatnot. Just chill out, man. Like doesn't exist. Why are you fighting something emptiness?
The atheists that I know, they were originally religious, and then like this is obviously like just people that I know, like some kind of trauma happened, like death of a parent, and they're praying really hard that like, I hope my parent makes it through whatever illness or something like that. And then when that doesn't happen, they're like, oh, there's nothing. And if there was a God who was merciful, he wouldn't have taken my parent away.
Very correct. Very correct. But in there, actually, this person is like the anger and anguish. That's what I'm talking about. If there exists a chill atheist, I have nothing to say. But if there's this fight with this non-existing God for their view, then there's a contradiction in there. Why is that happening? Because I want to take my revenge, because it hurts. Trauma is definitely there, right? Somebody shaved this candy before me and threw it out of the window. How do I take revenge from that thing? By ignoring them, by denying them. Like this, internally, this is how human psychology is really fighting back, saying that, like, if your father really throws this candy out of the window, what would you do? You will act as disrespectful as possible to your dad to take your revenge. Because you cannot punch him in the face, he's stronger. But how do we fight back? By ignoring or being disrespectful. But it's not that, like, people who fight with their parents, or sometimes they reject their father or mother. This happens, right? Or somebody rejects their children. Are they being comfortable? Or is the fight still going on? Like you pretend as if it doesn't exist, right? You say, I reject you. But this is how I take my revenge from that person, rather than trying to really, truly say that you don't exist.
I guess where I'm having a problem is that I don't think that my relationship to God is like comparable to my relationship to my parents, right? Because not everybody has that like good parent relationship, and they're, like, so I would think that if like,
Yeah.
I don't know, like I think the hereafter is certain because my belief in God is certain, right? But my relationship to my parents is not necessarily certain because there's all different types of parents. Not me personally, like, you know what I mean?
Okay. So like the part that I was trying to liken in this relationship is, of course, the type of relationships are different. But what I'm trying to say here is that maybe extended the topic too much, and it's being hard to collect it, to put it together now. So, where did we start? Let me backtrack a little bit, just so that I put it within the context. The question was, in this existence, I'm trying to see if there must exist an afterlife. How do I know this? And to this, I applied the metaphor, analogy of this child wants a toy from her dad. Like you and I want eternal life from our Creator. I mean, from somewhere, really. Somebody, let me not die. I don't want to die. I don't want to go to non-existence. It's like the toy that the child asks. And somebody promises me this afterlife. But how am I going to be sure that this promise is going to be fulfilled? Just like I asked toy from my dad, and my dad says, don't worry, I'm going to buy the toy. But how am I going to be sure? The anxiety is there. How can I be certain about this? Since my dad said so, it would be okay. It doesn't work like that. People have all different types of dads, as you said. And how certain are we about our dad depends on really how much we know our dad. How certain are we about our Creator? Because generally, the word God is, I mean, this is how the discussion started, right? How certain am I about Creator being merciful? How certain am I Creator being wise? I'm not talking about having a submission to that idea. I'm talking about, how do you know? How certain are you? Like if you see someone who pulls up a gun to your head in the street, versus your friend pulling up a gun to your head, you will be sure that your friend wouldn't pull the trigger. You're 100% sure. And you have a reason to be sure. But for random people in the street, if they pull up a gun to your head, you're not sure. They could be crazy. They could be anything, right? What sort of a relationship do you have with your maker, with your Creator? So much so that you will be certain that He's going to give me this eternal life. This is the question. Going back to the child analogy, what questions does child internally ask to be able to say that my dad will definitely buy me this toy? Many questions in there, right? So first of all, is this toy good for me? Because my dad, to best, as much as I know him, if it's harmful for me, he won't buy it to me. Is my father merciful? Because really buying me a toy requires some sort of a mercy from my dad towards me, right? How merciful is he? Is this toy an instructional toy because my dad never buys me something that totally wastes my time? Like many things we do. Is my dad's economy nowadays good enough to buy me this toy, right? Okay, I need this toy, but does plans of my dad on me require this toy to be bought as well? Is it just a personal desire of mine? Or really, my dad has some plans on me, and buying this toy really matches with his plans as well. When it comes to this, then I am bringing in that if you look at how this life is made, in this life, I am being asked, it looks like, I mean, this is my feeling about it. It looks like whomever provides me with this sunrise, with the life itself that I experience, wants to be appreciated, wants to be loved. But if there's no afterlife, I will become an enemy of God. Why? Because he put this candy before me, saying that I'm going to give you, or you are in need of this eternity, and then throws it out of the window. This is how I will take my revenge from him, isn't it? This is where I brought up the topic of atheism. Like, if people feel like there's no afterlife, then they take their revenge by denying God. Like you named it as trauma. It's a response to that trauma. I agree with that. But this trauma is coming from taking revenge from the dead. When I don't get what my kids ask, they start shouting, raising their voice, trying to disturb me. This is how they are taking revenge. This belief sometimes is a way that people are trying to take their revenge from the creator that they deny in the first place. Logically, it's a contradiction, because if you deny the existence of such a one, you cannot take revenge from that one. But even the atheist in this regard, I mean, that type of atheist, let me clarify, but that's a good chunk of it, if not all, is taking revenge of someone deep inside who they know exists, but didn't work the way they wanted it to work. For example, their parent passed away. And the question becomes, how dare you throw my parent out of the window? Like you shake this candy before me, very merciful parent. I love them, and you take it away and throw it out of the window. What does the person do in this case? Start shouting. How dare you do this? This is how taking revenge from that. And this, the thing there itself is a very good proof, actually, to say that, do you really think that he would throw it out of the window? Actually, this itself is a proof that it cannot be thrown out of the window. Because throwing it out of the window or eternally annihilating the parent of such a child is not to the interest of the creator. Because it is like, it looks like the creation is happening so that the creator wants to be known, wants to be appreciated. Yet he's going totally against this point and saying that, hurting my feelings and saying that, no, don't appreciate me. Sister Zareen is thinking something. Go ahead.
I just was thinking about, I don't know, I feel like I observe people who would call themselves Muslims also maybe not being chill towards other people. So I don't know, maybe their level of Iman is not like, maybe they're not as secure, but I guess like I also see in myself, like if I were to see someone who's an atheist, like I would also feel a bit disturbed that like I want something good for you. Like I would want you to like benefit from what I've benefited from. I don't know, I guess like couldn't an atheist think that way too, where I don't want you to be fooled by this idea, like hypothetically, by this idea that God exists, so I want you to also benefit from, quote unquote, benefit from that. I don't know if it's like purely revenge.
Yeah,
Okay.
I agree with her in that when I'm encountering somebody and they're saying something like vehemently against God, I almost feel like defensive because I feel like in my life I've been lucky that I've had answered God. And based on just that, I feel like that to me was the existence of God, that I asked for something and I received it, whether it was immediately or, years later.
So, well, yeah, go ahead.
I was going to say, I think we're asking questions that kind of reinforce the central point that Dr. Yusuf is making, that when we ask ourselves, are we certain of something? We come up with questions that we ask to sort of figure that out as proof. And so if you're like, with the atheist example, one of the questions that they might ask is, well, is my creator merciful? And if, let's say your parent passed away and you prayed and they did end up passing away, then you might think, no, my creator is not merciful because my merciful parent, the parent that I love, ended up passing away. And I don't think that was fair. And so in another example, when we are certain and we have questions that we ask and we think they're true, that Allah is merciful, that there is an afterlife, and we see someone contradicting that, it's sort of like, why are you going against something that I know is certain? I guess that was what I was thinking.
So I agree that if somebody is really trying to save you from atrocities that are being done in the name of religion and whatnot, it's a separate story. It's a separate story. But if the idea is that I am becoming the enemy of something that I think doesn't exist, this is a contradiction. Like in this regard, I should be saying that, well, just relax. It doesn't know. Like like being in my own world, having this contradiction, the crushing feeling of internal fight. This is why I liken it to children having fight with their parents, which they reject. You know your parent is there, but you don't want to acknowledge them because you feel like they are not doing what you want to be. In this regard, internally, and maybe when I use the word atheist, you, of course, rightfully think about atheist people, but I'm thinking more so in the sense of how it would manifest itself in me, finding myself fighting with the God that I denied, just like fighting with my parents. Ignore your parents. Why are you fighting with them? You cannot. Because you do appreciate their existence, you know they do exist, yet they act opposite of what you are willing to. This is why you are internally fighting with them. Like Mariam was mentioning someone yesterday, that person's mom left the house when he was young, like 12 years old. And that person became, rightfully, I mean, we don't know why mom left the house, but there was a divorce and whatnot. But then that person became an enemy of mom. And he recently learned that his mom passed away from some government records and whatnot. Like that level of animosity. That mom is not part of that person's life for the last 20 years. She doesn't exist. But still, he couldn't come over this fight internally because she wronged him. This is the problem, right? Now, why did we bring up this? Why did this come? It went a little more than what I intended. Existence of resurrection and afterlife. If it doesn't exist, then it's going against the purpose of humans' existence. Because a merciful creator who wants to be known, who wants to be appreciated, human is going to respond back by how we are denying our parents when we would like to reject them, because they didn't act as we wanted them to act. Like this in and of itself is where did all this come from? Is there an incentive for my father to buy this toy? This was the initial question. Is there an incentive for my merciful creator to give me afterlife? Why would he give it in the first place? That is the question. And there does exist a reason based on how he's treating me. Going back to Sister Dareto's question, I cannot look at God's perspective. I 100% agree. But I can look at how he's treating me. Like, for example, if when you come to our house for a discussion and whatnot, the way the environment is set up, you would say that, like, if you come to our house Friday and you say, oh, since we are 20 people in here, let's have a movie night. I mean, everything is set up for this. We have the crowd, we have the food and whatnot. By just looking at the environment, you would say that I think that's not a good idea, right? The way, I mean, you don't even need to ask me whether it can be watched, like have a movie night or not. Just based on how the environment is set up, you would say that it looks like the environment is set up for a discussion. Something serious, not about movie nights. Let me not even mention the way life is set up. You would say that it looks like one who manifests this like a guest house wants to be known, wants to be appreciated. But lack of afterlife is going to harm this goal altogether. Because I will, like, if there does not exist an afterlife whatsoever, I will become an enemy of him. Saying that you showed me this candy and throw it out of the window. You showed me this merciful mom and killed them forever. I will deny you. I will become an atheist, of course, rightfully. This is how I will take my revenge from him. Yeah.
I think we have a harder time with that concept also because like you see, I don't know, I guess the knowledge, like even in hardship, I don't know if I'm always like, oh, you throw out the because people like, I mean, they say like, oh, depending on personality or whatever, like you can face the same hardship, kind of like go through it in a very different perspective, but like religion isn't always attached to that sticker either, right? Like not even if in a non-religious person, two people can go through like the exact same struggle, come out in a completely different perspective of it. So the idea that just because somebody's like they live a bad life or a good life in front of me, and that is what gives me certainty of the afterlife, it's hard for me to comprehend because then I'm like, actually, then I don't get it because I'm like, how can I be certain? I don't know if I can be certain in that sense. That I'm not sure I have the answer.
For one last time, I'm going to take it back to because I feel like maybe it was too piecewise. Going back to our original question, the child being convinced that my dad will buy me the toy, right?
Correct.
How can the child be sure and secure? Is my dad rich enough is one question. If he's rich enough, this puts a check mark, gives me some certainty. He has enough funds, right? There's one question. In and of itself, is it enough? Maybe not. Because your dad is very rich, yet the toy is harmful to you, right? So this is one of the questions. Another question that I need to put a check mark for, is this toy something that I need? Because I know my dad never buys me things that I don't need. Is it need? Put a check mark. Is this something useful? My dad never wastes, right? These are the questions that the child needs to ask. To the extent that he asks those questions and puts check mark, yes, 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 it matches all of them, then the child could say that, to the best of my knowledge of my dad, I am sure he will buy this toy to me, period.
Given that it wasn't like, given that you told me there's an afterlife, then I'm like, based on this characteristics about you that I already confirmed prior.
That's right. But in that example, I mean, it's a limited example. In our real case, the desire for eternity is put in you as well by your creator. Like in the example of the child, the dad did not put the desire for the toy in the child. This is where the example is not being a perfect match. But in our case, the desire for eternity is put in you. He gave you this pain if it's not there. He gave you the joy of it if it is there. Like the desire is put by him. You can take it as a promise in creation, because by giving this desire, he sort of promised, I will give it to you. But also in his speech, he promises, I will give it to you. But now on top of this, you ask the question, is he going to give it to me? Then you have to ask questions, multiple questions. Is he capable? Why would he give in the first place? Has he given anything as such before? Is this beneficial for me? Right? Is this useful for me? And on top of this, another question that I was asking was, okay, let's say it's all good for me, but does it work for his purposes on me? Like, does it serve his purpose of why he put me in the first place in this life? Why should he do it? In other words, why should he give afterlife to me? What's the point? If I have an answer to this as well, because if afterlife doesn't exist, the purpose of creation gets spoiled. Like, think of it this way. Again, another metaphor. if there is no industrial life after college, then the purpose of college gets spoiled. What's the point of college then? Like, if there is nowhere that this knowledge is going to be used, then the point of college gets pointless. So, such questions. I'm not saying that this era of itself is enough to complete the picture. No, I need to ask those other questions. But each one of these questions will give me the certainty that I'm looking for. And this is where I brought it to, and it was a little maybe off topic. But if it was not there, if there was no afterlife, I would become an enemy of him. This is how the purpose of existence gets spoiled. Because the purpose is to appreciate its maker. If no afterlife, I would deny the maker. This is how I take revenge. This is how human is behaving. So in this regard, then I tied it to atheist. Atheist denies the creator because they think the father has passed away. This is a way to convince myself to take my revenge, to feel nice. In psychology, maybe we call it trauma and whatnot, but under the hood, it seems to me the same reflex as my kid shout at me when I don't buy the toy that they wanted. They want to take revenge. Does it make sense a little bit? Okay. I mean, otherwise, there might be many more things going on with atheism and whatnot. And I wouldn't I'm not trying to poo-poo the person saying that, how dare you do this? Like, there are things definitely understandable. But in this regard, there's this relationship going on there. Any comments, questions? Brother, we can have something?
Or
No. So this was yet some examples, because we discussed signs of afterlife for 3 weeks before starting this series. But these are some of the ways which we arrived at certainty.
no,
Yes.
if you're changing, I have something.
Okay. And my next question is going to be about this one. How does having this certainty, this
Yeah,
conviction,
before maybe,
Okay.
as you before to that. So, like if we take a few steps back, you know what? So one thing that attracted my attention with this ayah is the certainty itself. Like, forget about how we become certain. Even the fact that the ayah is talking about certainty is something new. Let's make it maybe obvious first. So when we talk about a hereafter, akhirah, the usual stance is, as our sister mentioned, I believe in hereafter because I believe in God. I believe in hereafter because I believe in this book. I'm a Muslim. I believe in this book. And whatever written in this book, I believe because, I never seen this book fail. Or I believe in God, and if he says there's a hereafter, I believe. That's the usual, the stance. And there's nothing wrong with that for itself. But what is suggested in this ayah is something new. How it is new? Because it's talking about the certainty, not indirect, the assumption or indirect acceptance of hereafter, but the certainty in hereafter itself. The ayah doesn't say that they assume or zan, like the guess, maybe think that there's hereafter, or they accept hereafter because they are believers. The ayah doesn't say that. The ayah says clearly they are, as you rightly emphasize the translation, especially of the hereafter. And you can also say, because there's whom in between, especially them, especially about hereafter, and especially them are certain. So this is certainty about hereafter. So let's, if you don't mind, let's pause there a few seconds because this is radically new. But I never seen anybody, any scholar, except one or two maybe, talking about hereafter and certainty about it. You believe in hereafter just because Quran mentions. You believe in hereafter because you're a Muslim and it comes as a package, 6 pillars, and hereafter is one of them. So there's no certainty in the hereafter.
Per se,
Yes,
by itself, yeah.
by itself, there's no certainty hereafter. This is how we educated. I don't know if anybody would disagree with that. Right? There are even some scholars would go further, saying that topics like hereafter, you cannot be certain about them. Right? You just believe them because Quran says so.
Yes, their proof is revelation. This
Yes.
is how they put it, yeah.
If there's no revelation, there's no way you would even imagine something like hereafter. Quran, this ayah obviously says something new. It says, no. About hereafter, a certain type of people have certainty. Again, before even, how they become certain, what questions they ask, etc. But they have certainty. So I want to ask this question, like, is this something new? To me, it's so new. It's not part of a package anymore. How can somebody have a certainty in hereafter? Right? And the usual, I apologize for my language, but silly, the argument as you wrote there, you've never seen it. Have you been there? Right? That's the reason the ayah says, especially them are certain. Because only certain type of people can be certain about hereafter. And why? Because in previous ayahs, we explained, what type of people they are. They believe in unseen. They are muttaqeen. What we studied, they look at the creation, look at their lives, they realize there's something going on here. There's something beyond what I see. So it really doesn't matter whether I've been there or I see there or not. It's not about what I see. It's about what I see, like what it tells. That what I see. Like what I see, what it tells, right? Is what they ask. This type of people. They look at a painting, right? And they would say, wait a second, this is not a random patch on the wall. Like on certain walls, when you look at them, the way they are painted, terrible, right? There are some patches, some different shades of the same color, sometimes even different colors in our house. Without thanking her, she, puts different colors on the wall. Her art. The moment I look at her, she just throws the pen and starts running away. That kind of art. When you look at the wall, such a wall, you see all these, the scribble. What is it called? Yeah, scribble. Yeah, you wouldn't be surprised. You can say that, even a random, wind can make it. But you look at a painting on a wall. If you are a muttaqeen, right? Meaning conscious, aware of what's going on, everywhere. You look at the painting, you look at the surrounding, and you say, wait a second, what is something going on here? I don't only see colors there. I don't only see some shapes there. I see intention there, the muttaqeen. Believing in unseen. I see some intention there. I mean, I cannot say where the intention is. It's unseen, but I believe in it because it's certain. Look at the organization of these colors and the shapes. I see intention. I see some aesthetic value. I see some knowledge. I see some power to hold that pen. I see some precision on these qualities they see, and they say there must be a painter. That type of people we're talking about. And the ayah says for this type of people, when they, only that, not Yusuf, not Birkan, but only this type of people. When I look at the painting, I would say, oh, okay, there's an object there, and then yes. But not this type of people, they will see the precision there. And they will say there must be a painter. Yeah. See, it's not there. And if so, uh, okay, so nobody would tell me, what are you talking about? Have you seen the painter? Have you been there? Nobody would ask me, right? Why? Because the way, the method I approach the painting makes sense. So the same way, this type of people, now Aya says this radical. This type of people will look at the creation, will look at the cycle of renewal in the creation, how things get, the gone, that earth, that trees, that flowers, and then how they get renewed every season, right? They will look at all these signs in the creation, and they will say, wait a second, something is going on here. Right? There's this feeling in me as well that I want this life to continue. They will ask something going on. What is this? What all these pointing towards? And again, Aya claims these people, when they study the creation, they will say there must be hereafter. Again, to me, this approach is so new.
And this is something that we should, thank you for highlighting this. We should really pay attention to. And we should, like Quran in this regard should shake us when it says they have certainty in afterlife. I should pause there. Really? Like, am I certain about it? Where does the certainty come from? Because again, this is page 2 of Quran. So in page 2, it should really shake us to say that if, and going back to the previous verse, you can benefit from this book to the extent that you have certainty about afterlife. It's not 1 or 0. You will gain certainty over time. The child will gain certainty about whether my dad will buy the toy or not over time, to the extent that they get to know their dad through their interactions. But what does this mean? To the extent that I am certain, I will benefit from the guidance, which is my second question. How does having conviction in hereafter affect me in benefiting from the book as guidance?
Anxiety about where you are going to end up, and that will keep you from winning. And if you are going through something difficult and it's really hard and you're like, I'm not gonna get through this, you're like, okay, at least in my afterlife, I'm not gonna be suffering with this. It's like two things.
Yeah, I mean, that's good in the sense that it will ease my anxiety.
Yeah.
Right? So take it this way. You are taking a class in college, and there's a very hard assignment. Your conviction about you ending up in Apple as an engineer or not, how would it affect how you benefit from this assignment? Yeah.
I guess it's just how you show up is different, right? If you know the goal, like my ultimate goal is the hereafter, because then the book told you that ultimately you're seeking certainty in the hereafter. You're not seeking necessarily certainty like in this life. You're not going to be guaranteed much here, but you are given certainty in the hereafter. So that means the way you live your life is to strive for that hereafter. at least like, because it's, if I'm planning to be a software engineer or whatever, I'm working each step of my life. I'm thinking about, okay, have I made the right step to end up as a software engineer in this specific company that I really wanted to end up in? And if I'm not, I continue to tweak my to match that, because I do think like things will happen. Maybe I fall off the rail here, or I fall off the rail there, but ultimately I keep reminding myself, no, remember you wanted to be like when the studying gets hard and I don't want to study anymore. I remind myself that this is what you wanted to do. If you do it this way, like, so I think there is an aspect of like motivation, at least for me, that if you have a goal, you have a way of kind of getting there. But if there's no goal, like I said, I can do whatever the heck I want, and that's like just
It's like the assignment is not becoming a source of guidance for my students who are not motivated really for job life. Their point is really to get an A and pass the class. For that student, assignments are not being that much helpful. For them, an assignment is just an obstacle that needs to be jumped over. And whatever cuts it short, like it's not an educational tool at all. An assignment is an obstacle, right? Now the book is saying that no, this book, Quran, is a book of guidance. Also, your life is a book of guidance. Your life is a book of guidance. Actually, the events that are happening in your life, sometimes you being promoted in job, sometimes a relative is passing away. These are also signs of guidance for you. But if I don't have an afterlife, meaning if the thing is just for itself, like a programming assignment is just for the professor to give me a stupid A. The assignment is just so that I get 100 out of it. This is a totally wrong perspective. There's no afterlife. Again, metaphorically speaking. What's an afterlife in a college setup? Afterlife is whatever you are going to learn from this assignment is going to be useful for you ever after. Meaning, in the next class, you're going to make use of it. After you graduate, you're going to make use of it. If you go to grad school, if you go to industry, you will always make use of this. That's why an assignment is a tool of guidance, right? But if a student doesn't believe in that, student just says that I do it anyways. I will find a way. If that comes, if the problem arises at some point, then I will learn it, or something of this mindset, right? In that student mindset, there's no afterlife. They are just living the moment. Just pass the exam. Just get the degree. Just get 100. That's the point, right? Then the assignment is not useful for them. Actually, that assignment has no guidance value for that student. That's mindset of a student. Agree? Yeah.
what about the opposite, where like the end goal is kind of debilitating? Like
What
the idea
is what?
debilitating, because like you're like
I don't know. The word.
like you're thinking originally it could be motivating. You could be like, yeah, this is great, or you're like, I can't handle this. This is too much. No matter what I do anyway, like so then you're kind of stuck. Actually, you're not living life. You're just like, okay, if I step outside, what if I commit a sin? If I do this, because like, what if it becomes restrictive than helpful too? Because
So,
I guess
like in this regard, I think again, there shouldn't be anything ideally, if we really properly understand it, debilitating here, like preventive, just makes you paralyzed. So learning. I mean, this is the case with my students as well. Sometimes not learning is harder than learning. If really they put their effort to learn, they would suffer way less than doing all the tricks not to learn it. Because learning in and of itself is fun, like gives the satisfaction. This is what I mean by fun, gives the satisfaction in that. And it's being useful beginning from this class. But when I say this, let's apply it, because since you use the word sim, this is something that we really need to re-understand, re-evaluate, just like we were trying to re-evaluate what yaqeen means, certainty means in hereafter, right? A sin, do I see a do or a don't as a learning experience as well. Like eating something or not eating something. What am I going to learn out of this? If there's nothing for me to learn out of this, yes, it is pointless. It's painful. But if I start taking it as what is guidance in here? It's supposed to be something guidance about in here. Anything about religion that's being served to you in the plate of religion, which is do's and don'ts, right? What is guidance in not eating pork? What is guidance in not doing this or doing that, right? If there is none, yet you're trying to do it by just grinding your teeth, it feels like, I don't know why the heck this professor is giving this assignment, but I need this A whatever to graduate. Then it's not being helpful. I agree. 100% agree. It's being totally useless. And it's not being a guidance. This is what the text is saying already. It said that Hudan lil Muttaqin. This book is a guidance for Muttaqin. And this is one of the points. He said that conviction in afterlife is going to make you benefit from this guidance. Because if you don't have this vision of, well, the life is not for itself. The life is for something beyond itself, after life. In this regard, actually, I don't know if you're noticing the meaning I'm trying to load there. Afterlife not only means life after you die, but it means life of anything after it itself dies. What I mean by that is assignment. You do the assignment and you pass the class. Assignment is done. You submitted, right? Assignment died. But the benefit of assignment stays with you forever. Even before you get into job, you benefit from that knowledge of the assignment that you took, right? After the fact that the assignment finishes, there is a life of this assignment with you forever. After the fact that you received something nice in your life, after the fact that somebody passed away, after the fact that, I don't know, you had a car accident or something, afterlife, do you have afterlife? Meaning, is there a message of this event which is going to stay with me forever? This is belief in afterlife. Are you certain about this? So life after grave is an aspect of that. True. But afterlife doesn't start after grave. Afterlife is there after every event as they die. And that conviction makes me benefit from the guidance way more. Because otherwise, I wouldn't see many of the things as guidance. Just like my students not seeing my assignments as guidance. Because they're not conscious, because they're not paying attention. Yes.
So with the word ahira, also another important thing, you mentioned this slightly, that it's not simply the next thing. Like something ends and another thing begins. Ahira is like also related to things before it. Like you mentioned the ahira of something. Like what comes after the first, let's say the math class you take, the natural continuation of the first class would be called ahira of it. Like you learn something, the grade you get is not the ahira. What you learn and the way you apply it is the ahira of it. Like you read a book, for instance, right? One page, you read one page. The page comes after that, which is the continuation of the first page, is the ahira of the story from this point. Okay? The point you're reading, the story that will come after is the ahira of this story. You are reading the current, the moment of the story, and then what comes after that is the ahira of it. And then you read it, what comes after that becomes ahira of that part. So there's this continuation in the concept of the ahira. there is the logical connections. And the reason I'm talking about that, when we think about the akhirah, we shouldn't think it as, okay, we living this worldly life, it will end and it will be wasted, nothing will be counted, and then we will have completely renewed, unrelated, completely, the like a new whatever life. This is not the idea of hereafter. Hereafter is a natural, I mean, natural is not the right word, but a logical maybe continuation of this life. Hence, you can be certain about this. When you read the first page of a book, you are certain that there's a second page because the first page ends prematurely. The story doesn't end there, right? You are certain that there's akhirah of this page. When you look at this life, you see that the things ends prematurely. There must be something beyond that, you say. That's how you become certain about it. The justice you see here ends prematurely in certain cases. You don't see, the evil-doing people getting justice in this life. And on the first page, you say, wait a second, it ended prematurely. But I know that the author, whoever is writing these pages in front of me, I see signs of justice everywhere. What this sentence ended prematurely, you say, right? And now you say, there must be a hereafter, akhirah of this. So this is the hereafter. That's the reason, in your example, the getting A or 100% grade, it doesn't mean anything because it's not the natural consequence of what you learn. What you learn is not about the grade. You learn data structures and the akhirah of it, advanced algorithms, right? It follows. When somebody teaches you introduction to biology, for instance, you are certain that there is a more advanced version of it because what you learned in the intro to biology ended prematurely. It didn't answer everything. You say, okay, this class must be preparing me for something to come. This something to come would be called hereafter. So the word akhirah is not just afterlife. The word, when we translate it as afterlife, it's like, even if there's no connection between the two, you can accept it. But no, this is not the definition of the Quran. For that reason, in certain ayahs, when hereafter are mentioned, is mentioned, people would say in hereafter, all things being given to us resembles to what we've been given in the world. Right? Telling us that, okay, what we had there was just the introduction, and now we are getting the akhirah of it.
In this regard, definitely my conviction in afterlife affects how I benefit from the guidance. This is why we will keep reading and rereading the same verses, and it will start speaking to us differently because my conviction in afterlife changes over time. The more it changes, the more I benefit from the very same sentence in Quran. Because the guidance, the nature of guidance changes. So let's wrap it up. Quran, yes, it's a sentence, but this sentence speaks to you very different. The same sentence speaks to you way different depending on who do you think the speaker is. Speaker is God. Who is God? Your understanding of Creator will change as you live life, as you pay attention to. Then the very same sentence will speak you very different. Your understanding of who you are will change. Depending on this, your interpretation of the verses will still change. You are the context of the verse. It's not only the verses are interpreted according to their historical context. Quran is not a historical text in this regard. You can take and you should take yourself as the context of Quran. And with this, I will wrap it up. It says, this is the very last verse. I know we are over time, but I would like to conclude with this very briefly. This is how the first page of the Quran concludes. It says, أُولَٰئِكَ عَلَىٰ هُدًى مِنْ رَبِّهِمْ وَأُولَٰئِكَ هُمُ الْمُفْلِحُونَ. So it says, أُولَٰئِكَ عَلَىٰ هُدًى مِنْ رَبِّهِمْ. Those are the ones, the muttaqin was described. Those are the ones that are upon guidance from their Lord. Underline their Lord. It's not saying those are the ones that receive guidance from the Lord of the heavens and the earth. Sometimes Quran uses this phrase, right? Rabbul Alameen, Rabbus Samawati wal Ard. But in here it says they are upon guidance from their Lord. This is very specific. It's saying that your Lord in here is your sustainer, your provider. This is guidance to you from your Lord. Lord meaning, like Rabb in this case is like mother is in a micro sense, Rabb of the child, metaphorically speaking. This is why mother is called as Rabbeti Beit, Lord of the house. Why? Because mom is the one that takes care of the child, right? Now this verse is saying that your Rabb is giving guidance to you. This is very personal. Like this is a recipe from your Rabb to you. It's very important that Quran is not saying this is a recipe to you from the Rabb of the heavens and the earth. Like my Christian friends would say that the God in Quran is so distant, whereas the God in Christianity is so relatable. Why, they would say? Because Jesus came among us, God came among us, died for us, and whatnot. This verse is actually saying, Creator is so relatable to you, your Lord, who is giving you breath that you take right now, who is giving you the thoughts that you're going through right now. Your Rabb is providing you guidance. This is a personal recipe. The same text is being read by how many people here? But read it as it is a guidance from your Lord, who is creating you with the environment that you are in, with the parents that you have, with the siblings that you have, everything that you're going through. He is speaking to you here. This is also very revolutionary. If you read it carefully, this is not a man speaking to you from 14 centuries ago. This is what Quran being historical means. No, this is not a man's ideas from 14 centuries ago. If you read Socrates today, it is a man's ideas from 2,000 years ago, right? How much can Socrates know about me? To that extent. My Lord, my Rabb, who is making me right now, is speaking to me. Read every single verse as such. This is very, very personal. This is why Creator is so relatable. As Quran presents the Creator, my Creator to me, it's a very relatable Creator. It's not God appearing as a human being out there so that it becomes relatable to me. No, my Creator is directly speaking to me. My Lord directly providing guidance to me. This is such a close relationship that Quran is presenting. And أُولَٰئِكَ هُمُ الْمُفْلِحُونَ, those are the people who receive success. This is something to think about. Let me leave us with this, because you know how success is defined in today's society. It's either having a super shiny CV, driving like good cars, wearing this and that type of brands, whatever, flying in business class. Quran is describing success as people, like if you ask a teacher, who is a successful student? A successful student is someone who gets 4.0, not necessarily. A successful student is who goes through the classes, thoroughly digesting what's going on, and then at the end producing some meaningful products, like really publishing papers. If you go with college example, despite being an undergrad student has 3 papers as first author, and they're not generated by AI. The student really have written them. Even if the student has 3.6 GPA, I would say this is the student. This is the success, because there's a natural akhira of the education. The student published a paper, and there's this other student who plays the game according to its rules and gets 4.0. But if you ask a few questions, didn't learn anything at all, just played the system according to its rules. Is this a success? Not at all. So Quran's description of success is important here. And that's what we should be checking for us. And in this regard, I think this question is important to ask to ourselves. This is how it happens in meetings. If we talk about, oh, I'll do this, I'll do that, a good organizer of the meeting would ask, what's the measurable metric that we can quantify your success? How would we know if it's good or bad at the end, right? Quran is defining success. What's a measurable metric of success in your life? So that you would say, I feel like I am achieving success per description of guidance as being mentioned in here. Inshallah, these are something to think about. Let's conclude here. We are already 20 minutes over time. سبحانك لا علم لنا إلا ما علمتنا إنك أنت العليم الحكيم وآخر دعواهم من الحمد لله رب العالمين. الفاتحة.